5 o'clock. We'll call the Tuesday, May 10th Citizen Advisory Committee meeting for City of Bel Air Beach to order. And first agenda business is to approve the agenda.
I'll move it be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The next item is approval of the March 8th City Citizens Advisory Committee meeting minutes. Everybody have a chance to review? Any comments? If not, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. And so now we'll move on to a review of city manager selection hiring process. So I'll turn it over to Lynn.
Okay, in your packet, you've got a draft outline with dates and times on it. And you've got a copy of the job description. This console went through. You've also got a couple emails that were sent in by council members Roberts and Vice Mayor Gunn with salary range, and that was part of council had asked Lloyd to come up with the salary range, and he came up with 85 to 110, and then the comment about 10%.
Oh,
and
minimum.
yeah, and then Glenn had taken the Florida League of Cities just for some more information, and they have a statistic that they collect every so often, and it came in around the average of 95, and that's what this is. So,
And that is using the tax collection rule, correct?
Yeah.
Average.
yeah.
He had a couple different things, but based on the number of residents, total taxes collected.
Right. And then this is the task sheet, and this is kind of just outlined of what the council's expecting. And it's got the task on it. And then the last sheet, the mayor developed this and brought it to council, and they blessed it. And then this is a scoring sheet. And Patty is going to be the one that's going to submit all this stuff to you. Once all the applicants are in on the 23rd, she will start compiling, and she'll be sending a packet to you. The date projected right now is on the 26th of May. And you'll have, with that resume, any information that she's collected. She's doing some Google searches and stuff to add to their resumes. Then you'll have this form with the name on it of each candidate. And each one of you will, put your name on it, of course, and rate each candidate's application based on, and the mayor can explain this a little better, but so that's what this form will be for. It will come with the resume and any other applicable information that she sends you. And it's kind of a short window. I'd like to get them back by the 1st of June to Patty. And she said she can send you this. She's going to send you a paper copy or an electronic copy. And however you want to do it, that's fine. You can do it electronically and send it back to her. And then after these sheets come back from you, Patty's going to compile a scoring sheet with all the scores on it. Your names are all above it, and she'll compile this once you give everything back to her. And then she'll be able to have you a total overall, and it'll basically show the amount of points and the average. There's 40 points in this scoring system. And as an example, the example she filled out here has got 35, 33, 34, 28, 30, just.
So I noticed that she assumes I'm you. the optimistic one, and John is the pessimistic one. so
Absolutely, must be.
She's got us figured
Or
out.
she has no
The
idea what my
accountant and the
qualifications
banker.
are.
It's his hook.
Yeah, I think Lynn had his hand in this and he was picking on me.
I didn't have anything to do with the numbers, we just kind of worked out how we could
Yeah,
compile
And
everything.
it's a great example.
So
yeah.
I had her make an example and she'll put the scores back in. So basically what'll happen is there'll be a final score sheet with for each candidate with this on it that when you meet 7th or 8th of June, you'll just verify that all the numbers are correct and you'll make a recommendation on the top 5 candidates, I'll say, but the mayor can talk more about that.
Okay.
And that's really all that we wanted to get you in here for, so you kind of understood the process and how Patty's going to try to handle it, get it done as expediently as possible.
On top of her regular day job, appreciate all the extra effort she's doing for this.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any issues with the dates? I know that's over Memorial Day weekend.
That's gonna be my only question. It's over the Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah,
So if anybody's going out of town,
I may be going out of town. I'm not sure yet. It's what's the date,
Thursday, the 26th is the Thursday before
Thursday?
Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, before.
And the first is the Wednesday after.
And how many do we have to review?
Right now, it's 24.
Woo!
Holy
Okay.
smokes.
I mean, this score sheet that I will say that the mayor came up with, he just went down the job description. You can explain it, Dave.
Yeah, it's really not going to be that hard, I think. But it's definitely a little more overwhelming because we're dealing with a budget at the same time. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to free up some of our time and weed out the ones that obviously don't fit. We've got a salary range. If they are way out of that range, immediately they're disqualified. I wouldn't even waste my time on them.
Are they putting the salary range? Is that
Some
part of the
Some of them
application?
will, yes. We haven't seen any of them. The council hasn't seen them yet. I had one guy that emailed me directly saying, please hire me. But other than that, in fact, I still haven't even seen his resume and his qualifications. But let me just run through right quick how this works.
Yeah.
And it's pretty straightforward. So if you, I had Patty actually email you the spreadsheet that I created this with. Within that spreadsheet, there's formulas. Anywhere where you see score 1, even though there's 3 different ways that you can score, you're only going to pick one and score with that one. So let's pick on education to start out with. If they have a BA in public administration, they score a 5, move on. If they have a BA in business administration, score a 5 and move on. But they can't get both. They can only get one. And if they have something other than that you feel like is worthy of giving them credit, you see there's a 0 through 5. So the most they could get in that first section will be 5 points. But it could be all the way, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or none. And so we move down to experience. You've got the same deal. It says score 1. So were they a city manager? Boom, 5. Okay, maybe not a city manager, but how about assistant? Boom, 5. Something comparable, now you do the 0 through 5. The reason why everyone is doing this individually is because I want to see how everyone interprets this. I don't think reaching a consensus in this case is the best medicine for picking the best candidate. Everyone's going to rank the candidates differently based upon qualifications of how they interpret their qualifications. So you've got the job description, you've got our list of qualifications, and you've got our salary requirements. And you're going to read through that and they're going to write something that sounds close. Okay, is it actually something in government finance? One person may say, yes, I believe it is, and one person may say no. That's fine. I don't expect all of you to agree on how you're going to score this. But at the end of it all, Patty's going to take your score for each candidate and add them up. And then whenever she's finished and we've got them all, we're going to rank them highest to lowest. And we're immediately going to focus our attention on the top 5. If we don't see what we're looking for in the top 5, then we may get further down on the list of the ranking. But where this is a big task, and it's very important, and we value your opinion. And honestly, not that we don't trust ourselves, but we trust you so much that we feel like this is something we should share in the decision making. And that's where your expertise and opinions will kick right in and help us to at least narrow it down, so that now we've got a smaller group instead of 50 people.
So we have the process, and we're down to 5, and we're looking at it. At what point do we take into consideration the things like the background check and those other items such as social media
Okay,
behaviors?
so whenever we have what we consider the top 5, then the next step, if you look through the hiring process,
Okay.
the next step will be background checks.
Okay.
And then that may very well eliminate somebody, and then we'll have to drop down and select the next candidate.
Okay. I just didn't want, I'm glad it's at the head of the list.
Right.
Instead of getting all excited about
Yeah,
something.
it's
then-
before phone interviews, all that stuff will be done, so I guess
Okay.
you'll weed out.
Yes, and once we've narrowed it down to what the council thinks are the top 5, then that's where we'll have a Zoom interview and we'll get to know the candidates and then start trying to make a decision.
Okay.
So that's the thought process. Does anyone have any questions?
I do have one. The background check, not to skip totally ahead, but is there a third-party entity that you would use to do that, like criminal check, financial check?
I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Oh, yeah, I don't need the name of it, just to know that.
Sarma? Is that something?
Yes, that's one. Yep.
Okay.
That's a
That's-
very
So
well.
you do.
That's a well-known one.
I was trying to think of the name.
It's a SARMA check, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
okay. What if somebody had a doctorate? Not that qualified, that you would just say, well, that
I would
means
say-
it's BA in public
I would say
administration.
that they probably wasted their money based on the amount of money they're getting paid.
Yeah, okay.
It could
Got it.
be a psychiatrist. And being a psychiatrist would help them immensely in this community. Well, not anymore. Previously, it would have helped a lot.
Well, Dave, would you say master's is preferred?
What's that?
You're in the job description or qualifications?
Well,
You did say master's is preferred.
what we did was actually based upon the original job listing, it said a BA was what they were looking for. I didn't see a master's was preferred, but it may have been added.
I don't think it was.
I don't recall seeing
Well, the
that.
job summary, is this
It says right in the first paragraph, the
the
qualifications.
qualifications?
Oh, in the job description?
Yeah.
Okay.
5 years progressive responsible experience, a bachelor's degree in public ad, business ad, related field, master's preferred.
Well, we could always add that, and that's why I'm presenting this to you. If you want it changed, we still have plenty of time. So,
Well, I guess the question is a public, a BA, that would be a 5? You couldn't necessarily make it a 3 or a 4.
well, you know what? The way that I originally designed it was a BA or higher. And so if you prefer to have a master's with a higher score, then what we could do is we could always change these. But the way that originally it was designed was if you get the BA, you automatically get a 5 in either business or public administration.
In those categories.
In those categories,
Okay.
correct. If we want to, as a team, we want to change this a little bit, Right now, it's an oddball score, it's 40. If you want to make it 50, well, what we
Well,
could do.
couldn't we put other and have that be handling masters and give that a 5?
We could probably do that,
Get rid of that.
and
The only, here, then you're not giving preference to the masters. So the way to do that, would
No.
you could give it a 6, change that scoring in the other.
Well-
If you really want to prefer somebody with a master's, if they have a master's in public administration,
Right.
Yeah,
Well, so what I could do is I could actually go in here and see, still have score 1 and add those two, in those two categories, and say if you've got a master's in either one, you get a 10. And then what that would do is that would give you.
It's a pretty high weighting differential.
What's that?
yeah.
You're gonna get a lot of credit just to a degree, and a degree could
Well,
mean
and
something
that's,
that can't,
and that's
right?
why I didn't do it that way.
So I'm
to begin with.
thinking, you know, if anything, you wanna make it a 7? 1 to 2 points more?
Could do that.
If I could, if I could weigh in on that.
Sure.
And I think Rob would concur with what I'm about to say.
Okay.
24 years experience in the military. Some people are absolutely, totally book smart. They'll ace a test,
Right.
practical hands-on experience. Not there.
Right.
You know, see what I'm saying? And then sometimes it can be the other way around. And in my leadership roles, I've seen it both ways. I've seen people who get it hands-on, but to sit down, if you will, and write the test or take the course,
Yep.
they struggle to
That's
make a passing
what we'd
grade.
be considering.
So I
other
would
things.
concur with,
I wouldn't give it more than a point or 2
Ron.
points at the most.
Yeah.
yeah,
A couple of bonus points.
yeah.
Okay.
And that's if the council, instead of master's degree, is actually preferred.
Otherwise, we can just
If
change.
not,
it.
Yeah,
Right,
if
just
it's
take the
not.
master's.
What I can tell you is that the council did bless this.
Yeah.
And what I would have to do is I would have to go back and present it to them in the next work session. We have time because I have one.
On Monday.
Yeah.
And this hasn't went anywhere.
And you
Okay,
have
so this
time
isn't the
because
job
we're
description that
nowhere
went
near
out.
the deadline on
This
that.
didn't go out with the application,
No.
request for
No.
application. Okay. Well, maybe just modify to take master preferred out.
Okay, let me take another stab at it, and I'll present it to the council. Everybody agree that whatever the council agrees to, that we move forward on it?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And I would agree with Ron, if the council wants to give an edge to a master's, it's not more than a 1 or a 2 point
Okay.
bump above a
Right.
But again, to your point about the PhD, Mayor, they may have wasted their money on the master.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
So you may find someone with a
And that's someone
master's
who has a
degree,
master's, just
but when
saying.
it gets down to
If it's-
experience,
If it's a
they're lacking,
underwater
so they're
basket
gonna
weaving
lose
or something.
credit
Sure.
in those
That's where it
categories.
balances out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, did you see any other discrepancies so far?
Can I go back to what was brought up earlier about the background checks and social media? You're only going to do that for the ones that make the cut, not
Right.
everybody.
Right, and
And
Well, it sounds like Patty's doing a little bit of Google searches on people.
She's doing some Google stuff.
I've done some too. I've already disqualified the guy that reached out to me.
Well,
okay, the question at hand is, as part of the screening process, are we, the committee, at that next phase, going to have access to those to continue, or is that something just for council?
I think because you ranked them all and the timeline that we're on,
Okay,
this may be the end of that journey for you.
Okay.
Okay. Obviously, you'll see the outcome, and you're
Yeah.
welcome to come along, and everything's public record.
Mhm.
But mainly, this is we feel like because you're ranking them all. You're not just ranking the top 5. You're
Right.
actually ranking them all. So
Understand.
let's say one of the top 5s is thrown out
Yeah.
because he's terrible. Then the next number 6 will drop right into that place, and you still selected them, and that's why we're doing this exercise.
okay, that's fine, I understand.
Okay.
My question about the background and the social media checks, okay, background checks, what is a discriminator? Felony? any misdemeanor? What do you turn up that gets somebody scratched?
Well,
'Cause you're gonna have
we
to-
don't have that standard here within the city as an ordinance or anything, I don't believe.
No, the last background checks were pretty detailed. That company, Sarma.
Yeah.
gets-
Oh, yeah, you're gonna get
They dig into
domestic abuse charges, you're gonna get everything.
I get it. My question, because there's somebody who will ask the question, you know, why did this person get scratched from the list? So you're gonna have to establish a standard. If they have a felony conviction, you know, if a guy got a DUI 25 years ago, is he disqualified?
So that's a
Good
good point,
point.
because when I do hiring, and if I see something, if I like the guy a lot or the woman a lot, and I've vetted everything else, and then all of a sudden it pops up and comes back, I'll talk to them about it. I'll say, tell me tell me the story behind this.
And I think you're right, but I think there's going to be a little difference between what you're doing as a private hiring
Yeah,
and
maybe.
you're hiring for a public position. And then I would have the same question about what does the social media check look like? If you look at my social media, my Facebook page, what disqualifies me?
Well,
What
you're
gets-
already disqualified.
Well,
Based on
I should, be,
Facebook.
but
Why are you even here?
Well, he slipped through the cracks.
you know where I'm
I
going,
understand
right?
what you're saying.
Because
but
you're gonna get-
Where's the standard?
You
But-
got to draw
Yeah,
a
but
standard.
you have to
It's
have a standard.
impossible to have a standard. Go ahead.
Sorry, Randy Moore, incoming town attorney. I happened to go through this process with the town of Kenneth City last year. We got down to 3 people. There was one candidate who had pending criminal charges unresolved. And the question came up of what are standards? I mean, this person is innocent until proven guilty under the law, but they don't have an entitlement to be a candidate in our town under the law. And they're not going to be able to claim I was discriminated against. We could just say we don't like the cut of your jib, and that's how we narrowed down the first 33 people or whatever.
Right.
And so in that particular case, I contacted them, I asked them for their exposition of it, and we found it doing our own searches. They had not disclosed it. And they were one of the 3 to 4 finalists. And once I made it known to the council just said, we've got 3 finalists, that means there's still 2 other people, or 4 finalists, there's still 3 other people, I'd just rather not proceed. And I will tell you from a legal standpoint, that's not an arbitrary and capricious decision such that they're creating liabilities. So I think you may wish to consider some flexibility in that regard. I have a lot more concern for this community as it relates to the social media side, because if somebody says, oh, well, they're a staunch supporter of, presidential candidate X or, whatever, and I don't like anybody who's on that side of the aisle, and I think they're going to run our community into the town, you're going to get much more into free speech issues, free affiliation issues, and have something there, unless they're advocating come do illegal drugs with me on Saturday. That's something different, and you can make those determinations for yourself. But I would say I would be far more cautious on the social media disqualifiers than the criminal charges. And you can and there's also just general guidance if it's a crime of what we would call in the law a crime of moral turpitude. Okay, you were issuing false checks 7 years ago. Okay, we don't want you to, in charge of our municipal budget and taxpayer funds. So you start looking at those sorts of things.
But failure to disclose, as you just
Well,
mentioned.
and it was one of those things where it hadn't been explicitly asked in the process, and so it wasn't. Do you have
Are you
anything
now, or have you ever been charged with?
Yeah, that wasn't a specific question through the process, in part because the pace they were moving at, but there was a lot more urgency. They had several vacancies, but I offer that as a case study in this community on something that might inform your decision making.
You may need, I don't know, when these requests went out for applicants, did it say anything about you have to disclose any criminal convictions?
Well, here's
That'll be on
what
the
happens.
application.
That's on the application.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happens after the council shortlists, Patty will send out, and it's on here, Patty will send out the shortlist applications for them to return by the 16th of June right now. And the reason for that is the fact that we've got to get some authorization from them to allow us to do that background check.
Absolutely.
And that's on our application.
They have to sign, yeah.
Yeah, because just because they submitted a resume, that doesn't authorize us.
No, it does
And
not.
it clearly states in the ad that was placed that drug screening, background check.
Yeah, you get a physical background check drug screening.
So I guess my recommendation is that, Dave, I think you and the council are gonna talk a little bit, especially on the social media thing. What is the standard we're gonna apply here?
And that's where Randy will come in and give us a pep talk and help us through that. I think that's in our best interest to do that because
No, I will tell you,
Are
that
you
you stop
on
that guy
Nextdoor?
from telling me I thought we lived in America and this is a free country. What are you doing? I said, nobody said you're convicted of anything. We just don't want to hire you.
Right.
Yeah.
okay, any other questions about the?
No, Dave, I appreciate, so this kind of makes it very quantitative. This is, science.
Right.
No subjectivity, this is, we'll just look at the facts, and then the art of the hiring process comes to council.
It'll be the interview.
That's right.
In the interview, and so just, when I hired for a new person to lead a public entity in Tampa, I think the best question I asked was, do you leave bodies in your wake? And
Exactly.
it was interesting to get people's response to that question.
Yeah.
So,
So other than that, is there anything that doesn't seem straightforward? I know you
I
may
think this
have questions.
works. I had two questions first about the interviews. How does you said Zoom interviews when the council comes down to interviewing folks? Are you all going to be on the call, or is it each individual council member going to do interviews with each of the 5
I
applicants?
think the way that it's going to work is we're going to have a public Zoom meeting and interview all the candidates one by one. It was that the plan we discussed. But I think right now we're leaning towards picking a couple of council members just to ask the questions and see how that goes. We'll know as soon as we do the first one whether we like the process or not, or we may tweak it as we interview others. But if all goes well, they'll all be lined up the same night, and I think as long as no one is speaking, I believe that you guys are more than welcome to watch it, as long as you're not chiming in and talking to each other during that.
I think you guys would just control the Zoom and whose mic's working, who's not,
Yeah.
right?
So let me have a little better understanding of that process as it applies to what we're doing by recording their answers on their history of work. So if I was interviewing someone and I looked and I saw that they were given mostly 5s for one of these particular behavioral traits or abilities, and other candidates were also rated it the same way, are they going to be asked the same questions?
I'm not real sure. Again, I haven't seen any of the applications or the resumes, but once we have the top 5 from you, we're going to go through and heavily scrutinize those. We're going to read them, know them inside out, backwards and forwards. Everyone here has been involved in a hiring process at some time in their life, and we know bullshit when you see bullshit. It's true. And so
That's a legal term.
It is.
And so what you're going to do is you're going to
You're
pick.
passed, by the way.
You're going to pick, one of these areas that they're weak on, or we are, and we're going to ask them about it.
Right.
But that's the process we're going to go through, and then once we've interviewed everyone, I'm sure we'll have a discussion, and we'll vote on our favorites.
Mark, I think the challenge that we're all going to face that are used to running these interviews ourselves
I know.
is we're just going to be looking at a piece of paper.
I know.
And looking at a resume and seeing which box to check, where
So-
normally we like to ask those questions.
Those questions, right. It's going to be difficult for me to look at how they responded to the questions that were asked in the application and relate that to the number without having any interaction.
And I
But
guess,
I get it.
I guess what we're gonna get is potentially a cover letter of why I'm qualified for this job and a resume, and that's about all we're gonna have to go off.
And
maybe Google's-
anything Patty is Googling, she's gonna
Okay.
put with their application.
Okay.
Anything that she's found, she will pull it.
And that's how I found the guy that reached out to me, that he had been fired from his previous job. So,
Well, there's a couple here in town that have had their times in the times. And then, just going through this process, I've looked on the East Coast and I see there's some people that like getting the press over on the East Coast as well. So, especially when we're looking at, I had a question, Dave, as I was going through it, under prior experience, location, you had Florida, question mark, coastal or beach. And I struggled, but then I get it now. Like somebody from Louisiana or South Carolina that's on a coastal city, we'll give them 5 points for being in a coastal city, but the Florida experience, that's going to be a detriment.
and that's where you see it says score all under that category.
Yeah.
Instead of 1, it's all. So they can get a maximum of 10 because they had Florida and coastal community. But if they only had coastal in Louisiana,
Right.
well, then they can only score 5.
So that's going to be, that's but I think having that Florida experience is
Absolutely.
key
Yeah.
for, how our state works.
That's
Especially
right.
if you've worked with the Florida legislature or other governing bodies, you have the experience.
Yeah, and the reason why we included coastal by itself, even though they may not be from Florida, is because there are federal rules that they
FEMA
have
limbs and all that.
Right, they have to adhere to, and so it's definitely a bonus, even if you're not from Florida.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
what we're really hoping for is you get both and they get a 10,
Yeah.
And you could be even more specific and say Gulf Coast experience would be more important than, say, the Pacific Coast, because of the issues with hurricanes and things that you face here that you wouldn't out there. They would have other issues.
I could throw that out to the council too, if
Glenn,
you'd
with
like
your
me to, or is
picture, I mean,
it too granular?
You typically see if
It's-
someone's going to be in the southeast that's applying versus a national scope.
No, it's all over the place.
All over.
You'll get candidates from Michigan, New York, Colorado.
Oh, Michigan, you gotta go for them right away.
Yeah, I will tell you, just in your current marketplace, there are a lot of vacancies in the state of Florida. And for those of us watching trends, we've seen a lot of people from northern states through COVID or otherwise relocating here. And this is, a community like this is attractive to people who are saying, hey, I can come in here, get a good 7 to 10 years, get my foothold in Florida, and right off into the sunset. So you will see candidates with likely a lot of experience and likely from very diverse states. You're not just going to get Florida.
I'll add also that if they say Chicago Beach, that doesn't count. Just saying, all right.
Chicago.
You like Michigan doesn't count?
Yeah, come on. On the west side, Mr. Mayor, of Lake Michigan, you cannot see the other side, so it's
That's
just
true.
like an ocean.
That's right. They have ice issues, that's a little.
I
That's
think
true.
there is one from there.
I wouldn't doubt it, I would not doubt it.
We even got one from Minnesota.
That's good.
Well, any other questions?
10,000 lakes.
My only other question was, we would have in the military a right seat ride, meaning that the person taking the job would come in and spend a week with the person leaving the job, right? Ride along with them in the right seat. That's the example. To learn all those little things that you don't get by reading the SOPs and reading all the background and all that stuff.
I
So,
believe Lynn is going to
Can we
work with
talk
us.
the current city manager into something like that?
I told the council I would help them out, but, I'm gonna be here and there.
Well,
So
we
it's-
value
it
your
may be
opinion
a-
because you know better than anybody else what it takes.
Yeah, I
And
understand that.
you have a pretty good sense of human behavior, and your input would be valuable.
So
for sure.
what Lynn is saying is, yeah, he's probably gonna give the guy a month's worth of experience, which is what I asked for originally, was hang out for a month. And he said, no, we're out of here. Anyway, Lynn has agreed to work with us for about a year. And it won't be all at one time, it'll be spotty here and
Yeah,
there
sure.
as needed. But I believe that any time that the new city manager needs some assistance, he will be in touch with Lynn.
That's great.
And,
Thank you.
and to
Thank
help-
you very
to
much
help
for
him
that.
out. And, oh, he's not doing it for free.
I know, but in his bracket, he doesn't need any more encouragement.
He's gonna make in
It was
3 months what he made in a year. He's underpaid for all these years.
Is Lynn going to have some input into the background of these, you don't want to?
It's best not.
Okay,
No.
No, that's best not.
yeah, that's fine.
And we'll just see how it goes.
Good.
Okay,
I don't have anything else. I believe that pretty much covers everything as
Just
far
Mayor,
as.
appreciate you going through the scoring sheet. If we have questions, we know where to find you.
Yeah,
We'll reach out.
in fact, I have a new city phone, so I want to give everyone a
Leave it
card with my
on.
number, so you
Yeah,
can call
thank
me
you.
directly if you do have a
Did you want me to
question.
pass these out?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And
Does that
if
mean, does that
you,
mean the old number doesn't work anymore?
oh, the old number works. I'm just trying to calm it down.
Yeah.
segregation
One
of
more.
duties.
There you go.
Dave, just give me one on the way. Oh, I have it back
All right.
there. Great. So any
I
other?
have-
Question.
Yeah.
I have,
So in these, like here for the abilities, the maximum for each one is 1 point.
Correct. So,
Okay.
yeah, so Mayor,
Yeah,
which
for
John was
maximum.
asking, demonstrated abilities, maximum 10. So
Yeah.
if we don't think they have government finance experience, it's a 0.
Gotcha.
Correct.
One-
It's either
one or
one or
nothing.
zero, it's binary.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we will be reading the job history and the application for that information,
Yes.
you'll be getting a resume, not the application.
the resume.
Yeah. Because the application, we won't have anyone fill out until they
Till
shortlist.
afterwards, okay, yeah, okay. But
Did we give them a format for the resume?
No.
So we're gonna have to hunt.
that's what I'm,
Gonna
that's
have
what
to
I'm
read
just
the
thinking.
whole.
We have
The only
to,
thing
we're
would
gonna have
be
to
is-
interpret.
Did Patty give us also the advertisement?
Yeah. I
Just-
never do that.
Just so that we know what we're
Yeah, she
asking
didn't
of.
include
So-
that? I
No,
thought she did.
didn't.
Maybe she did.
No, definitely you want to see that, and that way you can look through it and go, oh, look, it falls almost in the same order he wrote this. Not really, but you'll see just about every
Okay.
single thing that's on the.
Because this is so
on the ad.
linear, and the other is so subjective.
Right.
That's gonna be the rub for us to, well, I think he meant this, or whatever.
Hence the interpretation. Yeah,
But we're up for the challenge.
okay.
So the only thing.
We'll get it done.
I know in the job description, we put NIMS certification, and then you put FEMA on here, so maybe just do FEMA-NIMS. Because isn't that what it's asking for, isn't it?
It's a little of both.
Yeah, on the original ad.
There's some requirements to have, I think it's up to 800 NIMS courses, city managers, public works have to have a certain level of them. They're like 100, 200, 300, 400, 800. So there's some training there. I would doubt that very few people are going to have that.
And I don't think it was listed on the ad
No.
that's posted right now.
So demonstration of continuing education courses within the scope of what the job responsibilities are? Is that going to be asked, or are we just going to try to get that from the application, from the resume?
I think you'd get that from the resume. We haven't asked that
Because we
question.
would want them to put certifications for sure.
Well, they,
within
I
the
will tell
resume.
you, I haven't really spent any time looking at them. Patty will say, well, we got another one, and
Okay,
okay, and I'll flip through a couple pages. A lot of them that have, some people have said they have NIMS courses, some don't, but that's an emergency management thing that, you know, it's kind of a requirement you're supposed to do. And it's for emergency operations. And some of those courses, because they're more than one day, they're actually taught by the county or somewhere in the area. And then some of the courses, you do them online. They're at the, what is that called? Emergency Management Institute in, blanking where that place is at, Emmitsburg. Yeah. But some of them are online.
The council has to do it, different courses, and I'm sure the role of city manager has to do the same thing, if not a lot more. So,
Yeah, they require that so you can get your FEMA, when you have to deal with FEMA, you're supposed to have a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, just all the things you went through getting reimbursed and making sure following all the proper SOPs and.
Yeah, and that's important, you know,
Yeah.
FEMA stuff, because you have a hurricane, you want to try to get as much, like last time, we spent about 120 and we got 110 of the 120 back.
Because you did it right.
No,
And you had documentation.
I kept the documentation.
That's the whole key to it, right there.
Exactly, yeah.
Pictures.
Oh, yeah, I got lots of pictures. They're still in the computer.
Yeah, I just went, even the waste guys, to get reimbursed or pick it up, it had to be picked up with the right type of equipment, with the right type of hauler, and if it wasn't.
And taken to the right kind of place,
and it-
with a receipt for dumping.
Yeah, and you gotta tag all that stuff.
Exactly.
Great. Anybody have any questions on the timeline? So it looks like 26th we'll get packages. We'll turn them to Patty on June 1st. And then we'll get together sometime between the 6th or the 8th, I guess, to review and make sure our short list is accurate. And then we'll send them to the council, and then they'll.
Yeah, and I think the council, Dave, you can say, but I think the discussion has been these dates could flex a little bit.
yes.
Because
Yeah,
we can't, you know, Patty's gonna have a big chore scoring them. And you're gonna have a big chore scoring them to give them to Patty.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think we'll figure that out if we need to.
If this
skip
goes
a day.
beyond our anticipated deadline, then we already expect Kyle to be the interim city
I
manager.
was going to ask that question.
And then, of course, Lynn is sort of held on retainer.
Yeah.
So
So we're not
we're good there.
truly under the
The
gun.
wise mentor is at everyone's availability.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
If you can get them off the golf course.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Part of the time I'm gonna be on terminal leave. You know what that is, right? So I'll be back and forth.
Unreachable.
All right, gentlemen, well, I appreciate
Great.
everything that you're about to do for us, and it's going to definitely help the council too, so we can stay focused on getting the budget done and continue moving forward. I think so far it's moving efficiently, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do.
Great. Thanks, Rick. So back to the calendar, anybody have any questions on the calendar timeline?
No, I think we're good.
Any other general business to review?
Quick question, or if I may, and if the mayor will hold for a minute. Lynn, I asked you after the council meeting the other night about the contract for 12th and 13th Street, how long that contract price was good for. Did you get an answer back?
4th of June.
4th of June, okay.
We're gonna discuss that Monday.
Okay. My comment was after the conversation through the council the other night at the meeting was, I understood their concern and mine as a taxpayer about the price on this and how much that contract was going to eat into American Rescue Plan money. I know we were looking for a excess of going into capital projects or whatever there. I wanted to suggest that the committee recommend or urge going forward that when you table items, especially significant ones like this, know the drop dead date of the current contract, so that if in this, like this example here is prime, you have a short timeline, you get a work session, hammer it out, and if need be, I don't know what the cost is involved in that, have a special council meeting to to get it done before those numbers go up. I mean,
Yeah, and if you've noticed, I have, one of the things that I've been trying to push is expediting all of these projects.
right, I understand.
And trying to get them knocked out. However, whenever a council member motions for a table,
No, I get it.
yeah, I can't stop it if it.
No, I get that. I'm no parliamentary.
They'll get, the engineer's gonna come to the meeting.
Okay.
They'll get some feedback. And,
Okay,
I actually gave Councilmember Roberts a phone number to speak to the engineer directly if he wanted.
okay.
Do you have can you share your immediate opinion on which way you think we should go?
Well, the engineer, basically, my opinion is you're gonna have to move forward. There's an alternate option, I guess you could do, is gamble on the pipes, but the issue is the pipes are at the end of their useful life. That's the issue. And the comment was made about slip lining.
Mhm.
Well, the slip lining cost is more than the cost of digging the pipe up. It's $210 a linear foot to slip line. Now, for the outfalls that go in between houses, that's all you can do. You can't go dig up between two houses, because what do you got? You got
10
your
feet,
foundation.
10 feet and 10 feet.
Yeah.
And then you got every buried line and cable and sewer line and.
You
known to
can't
man.
do that. So with those, when we need to do that,
Mhm.
you're gonna have to spend the money to slip line those. But what you can do in the street,
Yeah,
Different story.
it makes no sense to spend good money after bad, and then you gotta go back at some point in the future
And fix it anyway.
and fix it, do it right the first, do it
Right.
right the second time.
And if you're plowing up the street for resurfacing,
Mhm.
just go ahead and do it
Okay.
right.
No, I appreciate
That
you.
kind of brings up just something that's been stewing in the back of my mind, as part of our exercise here in the council is, do we sit down and look at the budget of what's needed to fix all the stormwater and recommend, do we do a bond issue? Because costs are only going up. And, this is paid off in 3 years, but
3.5, yeah.
we've got, some potential bandwidth. And if we take some of the reserves and take some debt, does it make sense to preserve, what more it could cost, or any of us have a crystal ball that says concrete's coming down and steel's coming down, and so.
I don't expect it to come down.
So it's just something I've been thinking that probably as a council, we should probably, all get together, put some math homework together and just think it through. And
I'd like to have that conversation with you,
yeah,
just because everything's going up and we're not really making anything on our money.
No.
So let's use some of it and then replenish it later.
Well, we might get 1% now, because
No,
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
no,
the
not
bank's sitting
quite.
on too much money. They're not raising money market rates anytime
well, I'm
soon.
hoping the SBA does,
Oh, they should.
They're just gonna raise your service fees, that's all they're gonna do.
The state.
Oh, so Dave, this number for calls and texts is,
Yes,
Yeah.
I never actually tried it. I finally put all my contacts in it, so at least I know whether I want to ignore you or not.
okay.
Fair
Fair
than
enough.
that,
That
they
was
are,
good.
so,
Okay.
I need to get yours in it too.
Do you want me to put that in the note about the two things about, expediting future contract
No,
discussions?
because I don't think that was really, wasn't really on the agenda. In the general
And-
business for my thought process, we'll bring it up.
Okay, and nothing about the potential for a bond issue at a future date?
No,
Okay,
let's-
leave it alone.
Let's do some homework before we even
Absolutely, okay,
make it
fine.
official business.
May I ask, I think, and it's my lack of knowledge maybe about this beach renourishment, that Patty said something about, sent a document from what I understood to be a citizen that came in, presented it to the council.
Yeah,
Is it, I'd love to get some background on that.
What that
What's that
is
for?
she's arguing that they can take their beach back, or they should be able to. Is that what you read out of that?
Yeah.
I don't think it would go anywhere, but I think we have much bigger fish to fry, and I'm beginning to make a stink about it. But it's not, I'm not bashing people or anything like that. I'm just asking for help from everyone because Charlie Crist doesn't seem to do anything, and they've bagged him. And the county seems to think that Charlie Crist is the missing link that's going to get our beach nourishment, and I just don't believe that's the case. On the other hand,
Don't hold your breath.
on the other hand, all these people signed easements, and they're not getting anything for their money. And that document that I read, which did you send that? Did you send that to these guys?
I've got it in my
The
inbox.
25-page document.
Oh, I don't know how big it is,
I'll
but
ask.
it's in my, I got something about the
Ask
beach
Patty to
nourishment.
send that. This is the one where they were saying if you've already signed the easement, you screwed up, and here's why. And it was circulated by a couple of attorneys. You probably know who they are down in Indian Shores,
Mhm.
and it was to discourage future easement signers. I don't know how much of that is true. That's one reason why I wanted you to take a look at it also and tell me, so I know the facts. But right now, Pinellas County is sitting on the largest reserve they've ever had. And why? What do they need all this money for? It's a small percentage to fix the beaches compared to what they're holding. And if the Fed's not going to do it, and they're not going to require, they're going to require these easements permanently to continue doing this, well, maybe we need to go back to Pinellas County and say, hey, you know, this is how we make our money. We all benefit from tourism, and you're always saying you're green and you're wanting to protect the turtles and the birds and everything else, but you're willing to let our beaches wash out into the ocean and go down to Madeira Beach. And that's where all our sand is, by the way. It's in Madeira Beach right now. You have to drive a mile out almost to get around the sandbar. It is so bad backed up right now. So I'm beginning to lean towards turning it back on the county and saying we don't need the Fed for this. I know why the county's doing it, and it's in their, financially it's in their best interest to do it, but at the end of the day, if the Fed doesn't do it, then the county has to, because eventually we're not going to have a beach
And no tourists.
and no tourists.
Market values have declined too.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Well, we've lost 50% roughly, based on what the width of the beach was. It was about 180, 90 feet, and we're 90 feet from the back of the dune. Not from the opposite side of the dune, I'm talking.
Yeah, and I got with all the big city mayors and Charlie Justice, and had Cliff Gibbons write up a very nice letter, because he's a Washington lobbyist, and he knows exactly how to do it. So I had him draw it all up. I sent it to the county. The county, Charlie Justice wanted it slightly modified. It wasn't exactly what I was asking for, but it was much better than nothing. And I had every mayor up and down the beach, even those that were not impacted, because you go south of Johns Pass and they're getting their nourishment. But they went ahead and signed anyway because they were all in. They wanted us to get this. And so Chris got it, Rubio got it, Scott got it. No reply. Nothing. Crickets. And you would think all these mayors sending you a letter in a red label envelope, somebody ripping it open, it would get some, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Which tells me they don't care. They don't care. So that's where we are right now. I'm still
Chris is more concerned about becoming governor again.
Yeah.
And he and I've had to go around. I called him out seriously several months ago about his voting and he basically responded to me, we can agree to disagree, and so he was telling me to go jump off of.
Well, that's what it is. All right, so any other business? If not, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.